The war had finally ended after 3 long years. At least that was what everyone in the galaxy believed. The Zithron Empire had stopped attacking other worlds and signed peace agreements with the species that survived their brutal conquest. Millions had died, entire planets turned to ash, but now there was peace. The Galactic Council celebrated and began rebuilding what was lost. Nobody knew that humanity had been watching everything from the shadows. Commander Jake Morrison stood in the observation room of the United Nations ship Valiant. He looked out at the colorful nebula that marked the edge of explored space. His face showed the tiredness of a man who had spent years preparing for a war that never came. Humanity had been building, training, and waiting while the rest of the galaxy burned. Jake was 42 years old with short brown hair turning gray at the sides. He had joined the Space Force 20 years ago when Earth first detected alien signals. Back then, everyone thought first contact would be peaceful and wonderful. Then they learned the truth about the galaxy. It was violent, cruel, and saw newcomers as either threats or prey. So humanity made a choice. They would stay hidden, build their strength in secret, and only reveal themselves when they could defend what was theirs. Lieutenant Amy Carter rushed into the observation room. She was a young woman with red hair tied back in a tight bun. Her face looked worried. "Sir, we are picking up distress calls. Multiple signals coming from the Elari home planet. The Zithron fleet just attacked them. They broke the peace treaty." Jake felt anger rise in his chest. The Elari were a peaceful species who built beautiful crystal cities and loved art and philosophy. When Earth first tried to contact other species 15 years ago, most ignored them or laughed at them. The Elari had been different. They welcomed human diplomats with open arms and genuine curiosity. They treated humans as equals when nobody else would. "How long before the Galactic Council sends help?" Jake asked, already knowing the answer would not be good. Amy checked her computer screen. "At least 6 days, sir. The nearest Council fleet is dealing with pirates in another sector. They cannot leave their position. 6 days. Intelligence reports said the Elari would be completely destroyed in less than 2 days. Their defense force was small and their weapons outdated. The Zithron Empire would show no mercy." Jake turned to his tactical officer, Lieutenant Pete Hammond. Pete was a tall man from Texas with a thick accent and steady hands. He had been with Jake for 8 years and knew what his commander was thinking before he said it. "Send an urgent message to Fleet Command on Earth. Request permission to help the Elari." Pete hesitated. "Sir, our orders are clear. We observe only. We do not interfere." Those orders came from the President herself. "I know what our orders are, Lieutenant. Send the message." Pete nodded and began typing quickly. The answer came back in less than 10 minutes, which was unusually fast. Admiral Linda Hayes appeared on the main screen. She was a woman in her 60s with silver hair and sharp blue eyes. She had commanded Earth's defense forces for 12 years and was known for being strict but fair. "Commander Morrison, your request to help the Elari is denied. Earth's position is too dangerous right now. If we reveal ourselves to save one world, we risk everything we have built. Admiral, with all respect, the Elari are good people. If we do nothing, they will be extinct by tomorrow. We have the power to stop this." Linda was quiet for a moment. Her face was hard to read. Then something changed in her expression. A small smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. "Commander Morrison, you are ordered to conduct a full military training exercise in Sector 447. You will test all weapon systems at maximum power. You will test your engines at full speed. You will run combat drills as if facing a real enemy. Do you understand these orders?" Jake felt his heart beat faster. Sector 447 was exactly where the Elari planet was located. The Admiral was giving him permission without actually saying the words. "I understand perfectly, Admiral. We will conduct the most realistic training exercise possible." "Good. Earth expects a full report when you are finished." Haze out, the screen went black. Jake turned to his crew and saw the same fire in their eyes that burned in his chest. They all knew what was about to happen. All crew members to battle stations. Plot a jump course to Sector 447. Charge all weapons. Prepare for combat. Amy's fingers flew across her controls. "Jump course calculated, sir. We can be there in 30 minutes. Pete, send a message to the other human ships in this sector. Tell them to follow us. It is time to stop hiding." "Yes, sir." Message sent. Jake sat down in the captain's chair and took a deep breath. For 15 years, humanity had watched from the darkness. They built ships that were faster and stronger than anything in the galaxy. They developed weapons based on new scientific principles that other species had not discovered. They trained millions of soldiers and pilots. They turned their entire civilization into a defensive fortress. All of it was designed for one purpose: to make sure that when humanity finally stepped into the light, nobody could push them back into the darkness. The Valiant's engines began to hum with power. The ship vibrated slightly as massive amounts of energy flowed through its systems. On the view screen, space began to twist and bend as the slipstream drive activated. It was a method of faster-than-light travel that human scientists had perfected, making their ships nearly impossible to track. Slipstream in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Jump. Reality seemed to stretch and compress at the same time. Colors that did not exist in normal space flashed past the windows. Then, just as suddenly as it started, it ended. The Valiant dropped back into normal space 30 light-years away from where it had been. On the view screen, the Alari planet appeared. It was a beautiful blue and green world with 3 small moons. But above it hung something ugly, a massive Zithron assault carrier, dark gray and covered in weapon ports. Smaller attack ships swarmed around it like angry insects. Below, the crystal cities of the Alari were breaking apart under bombardment. Evacuation ships tried to escape but were shot down one after another. Jake's hands gripped the arms of his chair. "Open a communication channel to the Zithron fleet." "Let us introduce ourselves." Amy pressed several buttons. "Channel open, sir. This is Commander Jake Morrison of the United Nations ship Valiant to all Zithron forces. You are attacking a peaceful world in violation of the treaty you signed. Leave immediately or face the consequences." For a moment there was only silence. Then a voice responded, speaking in a language that the ship's computer translated instantly. The voice was deep and filled with arrogance. "Human, we have no record of your species in our database. You command a single small ship against an entire fleet. Your bravery is admirable, but you will die quickly." 3 Zithron destroyers broke away from the main fleet and accelerated toward the Valiant. Each destroyer was twice the size of Jake's ship and carried enough firepower to level a city. Jake looked at Pete. "Fire at will. Show them what human engineering can do." Pete pressed a single button. A beam of silver light shot from the Valiant and touched the first destroyer. The massive ship simply vanished as if it had never existed. The second and third destroyers met the same fate in less than 2 seconds. On the Zithron flagship, alarms began screaming. Admiral Krell sat on his command throne aboard the Zithron assault carrier. He was a veteran of 30 campaigns and had destroyed more worlds than he could remember. His species looked like large insects with gray armored shells and multiple legs. His mandibles clicked together as he watched the Alari cities crumble below. The Alari had testified against the Zithron Empire at the Galactic Council. They had called the Empire cruel and murderous. They had demanded justice for all the species that had been conquered. Krell was here to teach them the price of defiance. "Sir, unknown contact just appeared from Slipstream," his sensor officer announced. The officer was young and nervous, fresh from training. Krell barely looked up. Probably a council scout ship arriving too late as usual. "Send 3 destroyers to eliminate it." He returned his attention to the planet below, already thinking about which city to destroy next. Then something impossible happened. The 3 destroyers he had sent vanished from his tactical display. One moment they existed, the next moment there was only empty space. "Report." "What happened to my destroyers?" Krell demanded, rising from his throne. The sensor officer's claws shook as he worked his controls. "Unknown weapon, sir. Our ships are completely gone. No debris, no radiation, no wreckage. They were erased from existence." Krell pulled up the tactical feed on his personal screen. Where 3 powerful warships had been, there was now only the strange vessel that had appeared. It was smaller than a Zithron destroyer but had a sleek design unlike anything in the Council database. It looked fast and dangerous. The main view screen activated without his command. A human male appeared wearing a dark blue uniform with gold trim. His face was calm, but his eyes were hard. He looked like someone who had made a difficult choice and would not back down. "Zithron forces, this is Commander Jake Morrison of the United Nations ship Valiant. You are attacking a peaceful world without provocation. Withdraw your forces immediately or you will be destroyed." Krell's mandibles spread in what passed for a smile among his kind. "Human. We have no record of your species participating in galactic affairs. You pilot one tiny ship against my entire fleet. I have 40 warships under my command. Your courage is noted, but you will die here." The human's expression did not change. "This is your only warning. Leave now while you still can." Krell made a gesture of dismissal. Kill that ship. Use everything. 40 Zithron vessels opened fire at once. Hundreds of plasma bolts and kinetic missiles converged on the Valiant's position. The space around the human ship erupted in a storm of fire and explosions. The blast was so bright that Krell had to look away from the screen. When the weapons fire cleared and Krell looked back, his blood went cold. The human ship hung in space exactly where it had been. There was not a single mark on its hull. Its shields had not even flickered. The Valiant looked as if nothing had happened at all. That is not possible, Krell whispered. His kind had been building warships for thousands of years. No shield technology could withstand that much firepower without showing some damage. On the view screen, Commander Morrison's face remained emotionless. You were warned. You chose violence. Now face the consequences, he looked to someone off-screen. Weapons free. Target their engines and disable them. Let them go home with a message for their leaders. What happened next would be taught in every military academy across the galaxy for generations to come. The Valiant moved with impossible speed, seeming to teleport from one position to another. Its weapons fired beams of silver light that cut through Zithron shields as if they were made of paper. The human ship appeared to be in 5 places at once, dancing through the Zithron formation like a ghost. Within 90 seconds, every ship in Krell's fleet was drifting powerlessly in space. Their engines were destroyed with surgical precision. Their weapons were offline. Their shields were down, but their crew compartments remained intact. The humans could have killed everyone, but chose not to. Krell's carrier shuddered as its main engines exploded. Emergency lights bathed the bridge in red. His crew frantically tried to restore auxiliary power. Morrison's voice filled every speaker on every ship. Tell your leaders that humanity is no longer hiding. We are done being silent observers. We will defend those who cannot defend themselves. The next time you send a fleet to attack innocent people, we will not disable your ships. We will destroy them completely. Now get out of this sector and do not come back. The view screen went dark. Krell stood in his ruined bridge and looked out the viewport. Smaller human vessels were emerging from slipstream, dozens of them moving to help the Alari survivors. They carried medical supplies and rescue equipment. They were organizing the evacuation of the most damaged cities. Get me a communication link to High Command. Krell ordered quietly. His mandibles no longer clicked with confidence. Tell them we have encountered a new species. Tell them this species possesses technology far beyond our own. Tell them that continuing our expansion may no longer be possible. His communication officer looked up in shock. In 30 years of service, he had never heard the Admiral speak with fear in his voice. Down on the Alari planet, a young Alari named Vesh climbed out of the rubble that had once been his home. His crystalline body was cracked in several places and glowed dimly with pain. His family had not survived the bombardment. He had been ready to die as well. But now, looking up at the sky, he saw something different. Human ships moving through the clouds with purpose and care. Rescue teams wearing white armor were pulling survivors from collapsed buildings. Medical tents were being set up in the central plaza. Food and water were being distributed. A human woman in a white uniform approached him. She was young with blonde hair and kind eyes. She scanned him with a medical device and spoke through a translation device on her belt. You have internal fractures, but nothing fatal. Come with me and we will treat your injuries. Vesh looked at her in confusion. Why are you helping us? We have nothing to offer you. We are not strong. We have no resources you need. The human woman smiled gently. Because it is the right thing to do. Because you asked for help and nobody else was coming. That is reason enough. She helped him walk toward a medical tent. Around them, other humans were working tirelessly to save lives, rebuild shelters, and restore hope. Vesh had lived through the darkest day of his species' history. But now he was seeing something he never expected. Heroes who came from nowhere, asking for nothing in return, aboard the Valiant. Jake Morrison watched the rescue operation on his screens. Amy stood beside him, monitoring the communication channels. Sir, we are receiving messages from Earth. Admiral Hayes wants a full report. We are also getting encrypted signals from other human fleets across the galaxy. They want to know what happened here. Jake nodded slowly. Tell the Admiral we successfully defended the Aelari with minimal casualties on both sides. Tell the other fleets to prepare themselves. What we did here today will not go unnoticed. Every species in the galaxy will know about us now. Some will want to be our friends. Others will want to destroy us before we become too powerful. Pete turned from his station. Sir, should we head back to Earth? Not yet. We stay here until the Alari are safe, and the Council sends their own protection. We gave our word that we would help them. Humans keep their word. Jake looked out at the damaged planet below. Somewhere in the back of his mind, he knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had revealed itself to the galaxy. They had shown their military power and their willingness to fight for others. The easy part was over. Now came the hard part of figuring out what kind of role humanity would play in a galaxy that had been running without them for thousands of years. But for now, in this moment, they had saved lives. They had stopped evil. That was enough. The Galactic Council chamber was built thousands of years ago by species whose names were now forgotten. It was a massive circular room with seats rising in tiers all around the central floor. 47 different species had representatives here, each with their own appearance, language, and culture. Normally, the chamber was a place of careful debate and slow decisions. Today, it was chaos. Representatives were shouting at each other, pointing accusatory appendages, and demanding answers. At the center of all the anger was a holographic recording playing on repeat. It showed a single human warship destroying an entire Zithron fleet in less than 2 minutes. The recording had been captured by an Alari satellite and transmitted to the Council yesterday. Councillor Thane slammed his thick tail against the floor. The sound echoed through the chamber like thunder. Thane was a draconi, a species that looked like massive reptiles standing upright. They were known for their strength and their sense of honor. Thane had served on the Council for 20 years and commanded respect from most species. Order. We will have order in this chamber. His voice boomed across the room. The shouting gradually died down. Representatives returned to their seats, though many continued to mutter angrily. Thane's golden eyes swept across the assembly. We have confirmed that this species, calling themselves humans, did make first contact with several of our members approximately 15 years ago. At that time, they were assessed as primitive and confined to a single star system. They possessed basic spaceflight, but nothing remarkable. They were largely ignored. Councillor Vera floated forward. She was a crystalline being without a fixed shape, constantly shifting like living glass. Her species communicated through vibrations that were translated by machines. Her voice always sounded musical, like wind chimes. That assessment was clearly wrong. The technology shown in these recordings exceeds anything in our combined databases. Their faster-than-light travel leaves no detectable signature. Their weapons operate on principles our scientists cannot identify. Their shields withstand firepower that should vaporize any known vessel.
How did we miss this?
A murmur of agreement rippled through the chamber. Councillor Marcus, a small furry creature with 6 arms, spoke up in a squeaky voice. Perhaps they hid it deliberately. Perhaps they watched us during the war and decided we could not be trusted. Or perhaps they were preparing to conquer us all once we had weakened each other, growled Councillor Dravis, whose species looked like walking stone pillars. They saved the Alari. The voice was quiet, but it cut through all the noise. Councillor Nash hovered on an anti-gravity platform near the center of the floor. He was Alari himself, and his crystalline body still showed cracks from the recent bombardment. When the Council could not respond fast enough, when my people faced complete extinction, the humans came. They destroyed the Zithron fleet but did not kill the crews. They disabled the ships and let them leave. Then they spent 3 days helping us rescue survivors, treat the wounded, and rebuild our cities. They asked for nothing in return. Thane nodded slowly. A noble action, Councillor Nash, but nobility does not answer our primary question. Are these humans a threat to the Council and to galactic stability? Perhaps you should ask them yourselves. Every head in the chamber turned toward the entrance. A human woman walked through the massive doors flanked by 2 figures in powered armor. She wore a simple gray suit with no decorations or weapons. Her dark hair was pulled back in a professional style. Her credentials appeared in holographic text before her. Ambassador Claire Foster, United Nations Diplomatic Corps. She walked with confidence but not arrogance, her footsteps echoing in the suddenly silent chamber. When she reached the center floor, she stopped and looked around at all the assembled representatives. The Council did not invite you here, human, Thane said, though he made no move to remove her. How did you even gain access to this facility? Claire smiled slightly. Your security systems are excellent, Councillor Thane. Unfortunately for you, human computer technology is 15 years more advanced than yours. We have been monitoring your communications and debates since we first made contact. We know exactly what you think of us and what you fear. She tapped a device on her wrist. A massive data package appeared in the air above her, visible to everyone in the chamber. This file contains everything you want to know about humanity. Our population, which is currently 8 billion. Our fleet strength, which is 6,000 warships ranging from small scouts to massive dreadnoughts. Our industrial capacity, which exceeds the combined output of the Dracony and Helix sectors. Our territorial claims, which include only our home system and 3 uninhabited systems nearby. Complete transparency. Counselor Vera's form pulsed with colors that indicated shock. 6,000 warships? That is impossible. Even the Zithron Empire at full strength only had 4,000 vessels. We have had a long time to prepare, Claire replied calmly. While you fought each other, we built. While you signed treaties, we perfected our technology. While you recovered from war, we trained our forces, not to attack anyone but to defend ourselves. We knew that when we finally revealed ourselves, we needed to be strong enough that nobody would dare attack us. You deceived us, accused Dravis, his stone body grinding with anger. You hid your true nature. We protected ourselves, Claire corrected. Tell me, Counselor Dravis, what would the Council have done 15 years ago if a new species appeared with primitive technology and rich resources? Would you have welcomed us as equals? Or would some of you have seen us as a threat to eliminate or a prize to claim? The galaxy was at war. We chose to wait until we could stand on equal footing. The chamber fell silent. Many of the counselors looked uncomfortable because they knew she was right. The history of the galaxy was filled with examples of young species being absorbed, conquered, or destroyed by their more powerful neighbors. Counselor Nash spoke again. What do humans want from the Council? Claire's expression softened. Partnership, trade, cultural exchange. We want to share our knowledge and learn from yours. We want to help defend species that cannot defend themselves. We want to contribute to peace and stability in the galaxy. But we will not be ruled by you. And we will not stand idle when innocent people are being killed. And if the Council refuses your offer of partnership? Thane asked carefully. Then we remain independent. We defend our own interests and help those who ask for our aid. We hope that eventually you will change your minds. But Commander Morrison's message to the Zithron Empire applies to everyone. Humanity is no longer hiding. We are here, and we will act according to our own conscience. Counselor Marcus waved several of his arms. You speak of helping others, but you only defended one world. The Ilari. What about the dozens of other species who need protection? Claire nodded as if she had been expecting this question. At this very moment, 19 human fleets are deployed across the Outer Rim territories. They are patrolling regions where the Council has no presence. They are protecting trade routes from pirates. They are responding to distress calls. They are doing the job that the Council should be doing but cannot because your forces are stretched too thin. The chamber erupted in noise again. Some counselors were angry at the implication that they were failing in their duties. Others were alarmed that human forces were operating without Council approval. A few seemed relieved that someone was finally addressing problems they knew existed but could not solve. Thane slammed his tail again for silence. The Council will need time to debate this matter. Humanity's emergence changes the balance of power in the galaxy. We must consider all implications carefully. Claire nodded respectfully. Take all the time you need, counselors. But while you debate, know that human ships will continue protecting those who need protection. We are not asking for permission to do what is right. We are informing you of what we are already doing. She turned and began walking back toward the entrance. Her armored escorts fell into step behind her. At the doorway, she paused and looked back over her shoulder. One more thing you should know. The war is not really over. The Zithron Empire will not accept what happened to their fleet. They will retaliate, and when they do, it will not be against one world. It will be massive and brutal. When that day comes, and it will come soon, humanity will stand with you. The question is whether you will stand with us. The doors closed behind her, leaving the council chamber in turmoil. Counselors immediately began arguing about what to do. Some wanted to accept the human offer of alliance. Others wanted to demand that human forces withdraw from council space. A few even suggested trying to force humanity to submit to council authority. Though these voices quickly went silent when reminded of what a single human ship had done to a Zithron fleet. Thane sat in his chair and rubbed his temples with his claws. In 20 years of service, he had dealt with trade disputes, border conflicts, and even the Zithron War. But he had never faced a situation quite like this. A powerful new species that had hidden in plain sight, that possessed superior technology, and that seemed genuinely interested in helping others rather than conquering them. It should have been simple. It should have been wonderful. But Thane had. The Zithron High Command Station orbited a dead planet at the heart of their empire. It was a massive structure of dark metal and weapons, built to project power and inspire fear. Inside its war chamber, 7 high commanders gathered around a holographic map of the galaxy. Their mandibles clicked with anger as they studied the display. Supreme Commander Vex was the oldest and most experienced of them all. His shell bore scars from 100 battles. His eyes, usually cold and calculating, now burned with rage. "They are everywhere," Vex growled, gesturing at the map. 19 sectors glowed red, each one marking a location where human vessels had stopped Zithron operations. Every conquest attempt, every expansion effort, blocked by these humans. "Our empire has not grown in 30 days. 30 days. This is unacceptable." Commander Drath, younger but equally ambitious, nodded in agreement. "Their technology is superior to ours, Supreme Commander. Our weapons cannot penetrate their shields. Our sensors cannot track their ships properly. Every single engagement has ended in humiliation for our forces." "Then we must change how we fight them," Vex replied. He manipulated the display, zooming in on a small yellow star at the edge of what humans called Council Space. "This is Sol. This is Earth, the human homeworld. They have spread their fleets across the galaxy to protect others. This means their center is weak." Commander Salus, known for his careful planning, leaned forward to study the map. "You want to attack their homeworld directly? The Council would condemn such an action. They might even unite against us." "The Council is weak and divided," Vex snapped. "They argue while we act. If we destroy Earth, human resistance will collapse. Scattered fleets cannot sustain themselves without a home base. They cannot build new ships, train new crews, or coordinate their efforts. Cut off the head and the body dies." "What forces would you commit to such an attack?" asked Commander Drath. Vex's mandibles spread in a predatory grin. "Everything. Every ship we can gather. I want 2,000 vessels to appear in Earth's orbit simultaneously. We will overwhelm their defenses through sheer numbers. Their advanced technology means nothing if they cannot target all our ships at once. Some will get through, and that is all we need." The other commanders exchanged looks. Such an assault would strip their empire's borders of protection. Their conquered worlds would be vulnerable to rebellion. But the potential reward, the complete destruction of humanity, seemed worth the risk. "How long to assemble such a force?" Salus asked. 6 days. We will gather the fleet in the dead zone where our movements cannot be detected. Then we jump directly to Earth and attack before they can organize a defense. Fast, brutal, and final. On Earth, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains in the United Nations Defense Command Center, alarms were already screaming. Admiral Linda Hayes strode into the command center with her usual quick pace. Officers jumped to attention, but she waved them back to their stations. Colonel Greg Murphy, her second-in-command, met her at the central tactical display. His face was pale and his hands shook slightly. "Admiral, we have a serious situation. Our deep space scouts detected massive fleet movements in Zithron space. They are pulling ships from every sector, every garrison, every defensive position. They are gathering everything they have." Linda studied the data streaming across multiple screens. Her experienced eyes saw the pattern immediately. "Estimated target?" "Based on their assembly point and projected jump coordinates, there is only one logical target. Us. Earth." Linda felt cold spread through her chest, but her face remained calm. Her crew needed to see strength now, not fear. "How long do we have?" 5 to 6 days before they can coordinate a jump." "But Admiral, the numbers." Greg pulled up a tactical projection. "Our intelligence estimates at least 2,000 vessels. Even with our technological advantage, those numbers are overwhelming. Send out immediate recall orders. Priority Alpha. Every human ship, every station, everyone comes home right now. I do not care where they are or what they are doing. They turn around and head for Earth at maximum speed. That will leave our allied worlds completely undefended. Greg pointed out, though his tone made it clear he agreed with the decision. The Aelari, the Helix colonies, all the species we promised to protect. They will be vulnerable. Linda nodded slowly. I know, but if Earth falls, they will have no protection ever again. Send the orders. Also, get me a secure channel to the President and the Security Council, and someone locate Commander Morrison. I need the Valiant here immediately. Across the galaxy on 19 different worlds, human ships received their orders. Engines that had been cruising went to full power. Ships that had been patrolling trade routes turned toward home. Crews that had been helping alien species said quick goodbyes and prepared for combat. On the worlds they were leaving, people watched the sky with growing fear. The humans had become protectors, friends, and symbols of hope. Now they were leaving, and everyone knew what that meant. Something terrible was coming. Aboard the Valiant, still stationed near the Aelari homeworld, Jake Morrison read the recall order on his command screen. He had been expecting something like this, but seeing it in official text made it real. Amy, how long to reach Earth at maximum speed? 43 hours if we push the engines to their limit, sir. And when will the Zitharon fleet arrive at Earth? Amy checked her calculations. Approximately 6 hours after we do, sir. Maybe less if they are more coordinated than we expect. Jake nodded slowly. 6 hours to prepare for the largest battle humanity had ever faced. 6 hours to organize defenses against overwhelming numbers. It would have to be enough. He activated the ship-wide communication system. All hands, this is the captain. We have been ordered back to Earth. The Zitharon Empire is coming with everything they have. They think we are weak because we are new to the galaxy. They think we will break because we have never been truly tested. They are wrong. He paused, choosing his next words carefully. For 15 years we prepared for this possibility. We built these ships. We trained for this moment. We made Earth into the most heavily defended planet in the galaxy. Tomorrow, the Zitharon Empire will learn why you never threaten a species' homeworld. Get some rest. When we reach Earth, we will show them what humanity truly means. The Valiant's engines surged to full power. Space around the ship distorted. As it entered slipstream, racing toward home at speeds that bent the laws of physics. Behind it, the Aelari watched their protectors leave and prayed to their crystalline gods that the humans would survive. On Earth, preparations were already underway. Hidden defense platforms rose from the ocean depths where they had waited for years. Mountains opened to reveal massive cannons pointed at the sky. The moon, humanity's first off-world colony, activated weapon systems that had been secretly installed over the past decade. Satellites that everyone thought were for communication revealed their true purpose as military targeting systems. Earth had been preparing for invasion since the day they learned other species existed. Now all that preparation would be tested. Linda Hayes stood in the command center and watched the tactical display as human ships began arriving in Sol system. Each friendly icon that appeared on the screen was a relief, but she knew they would not be enough. The Valiant arrived 36 hours after receiving the recall order. Jake Morrison immediately transported down to the command center for a face-to-face briefing. Good to see you in person, Commander, Linda said, shaking his hand. I wish it was under better circumstances. How bad is it? Jake asked, studying the tactical projections. 2,000 enemy vessels against our 600-ship defense force. Even with our technology, the math is not favorable. Jake was quiet for a moment, then a slight smile crossed his face. They are making the same mistake everyone makes about Earth. They see a peaceful planet with cities and farms. They do not see the fortress we built underneath all of that. Linda's smile matched his. Let them come. Let them think they have the advantage. We will teach them why you should never underestimate humanity. The Zitharon Armada appeared in Sol system exactly on schedule. 2,000 warships emerged from slipstream in a perfect formation that had taken months to plan. They filled the space around Earth's moon like a swarm of angry insects, their weapon systems charging, their crews confident in their overwhelming advantage. Supreme Commander Vex stood on the bridge of his flagship and looked at Earth rotating peacefully below. Blue oceans, white clouds, green continents. It looked defenseless. No fleet waited to meet them in battle. No weapons platforms powered up to fire, just a single space station in high orbit and the quiet planet beneath. "This is too easy," Commander Drath said from his station. "Where is their fleet? Where are their defenses?" "Probably still scattered across the galaxy trying to get home," Vex replied with satisfaction. "By the time they arrive, there will be nothing left to defend. All ships advance to firing range. Target their major population centers first." The massive fleet moved forward as one, weapons hot and ready. They reached optimal firing range. Vex raised his claw to give the order that would begin the bombardment. Then space itself seemed to tear apart. 600 human warships appeared simultaneously in a perfect sphere around the Zithron fleet. They had been there all along, hidden by technology that made them completely invisible to sensors. They had been waiting, watching, preparing. Admiral Linda Hayes appeared on every Zithron viewscreen at once. Her face was hard as stone, her eyes filled with cold determination. "This is Admiral Linda Hayes of the United Nations Defense Fleet. You have entered Sol system with hostile intent. You came here to destroy our home. You have one chance to turn around and leave. Take it now." Vex snarled, his mandibles clicking with rage. 600 ships against 2,000. You are still outnumbered more than 3 to 1. You cannot win this battle. Linda's expression did not change. "We do not need to win. We just need to make you pay a price so terrible that your empire never recovers from it. Last chance, Commander. Leave now or die here. All ships open fire," Vex roared. "Destroy them all." The battle began with fury that lit up space around Earth like a newborn sun. Thousands of plasma bolts, missiles, and energy beams filled the void. The Zithron fleet fired everything they had at the human vessels from all directions. The human ships scattered like drops of mercury, moving with impossible speed and agility. Their shields absorbed weapons fire that should have vaporized them. When they returned fire, Zithron ships exploded or simply vanished. The Valiant, positioned at the center of the human formation with Jake Morrison commanding, coordinated the defense with precision. "Focus fire on their command carriers. Cut off their coordination and they will fall apart." The massive human dreadnoughts, ships larger than anything the Zithron Empire had ever built, revealed weapons that seemed to break the laws of physics, beams of energy that crushed ships like tin cans, missiles that erased entire squadrons, and strangest of all, weapons that made vessels simply stop existing as if reality itself had deleted them. "This is impossible," Drath shouted as his tactical screen showed their losses climbing. How can they have such technology? Vex was beginning to understand the terrible mistake they had made. They did not just build while we fought, they innovated. While we perfected old weapons, they invented entirely new ones. We brought knives to their gun battle. But numbers still mattered. For every human ship that took damage, 5 Zethron vessels were destroyed. The math was brutal but clear. The human fleet was being slowly overwhelmed despite their superior technology. Vex began to think they might actually win through sheer weight of numbers. Then Earth itself joined the fight. The oceans began to glow with brilliant light. Massive defense platforms rose from beneath the waves where they had been hidden for years. Mountain ranges split open to reveal orbital cannons the size of skyscrapers. The moon transformed before their eyes as weapon systems that had been secretly installed over a decade activated all at once. Earth, humanity's cradle and home, had been turned into the most heavily armed fortress in the entire galaxy. The Zithron fleet found itself caught in a crossfire from above and below. Their numerical advantage meant nothing, as they were forced into carefully designed kill zones with no escape. Ships that tried to flee were cut down. Ships that tried to fight were overwhelmed. Ships that surrendered were allowed to drift. Withdraw. All ships retreat to slipstream coordinates. Vex finally screamed into his communications system. The pride and confidence were gone from his voice, replaced by fear and desperation. But Jake Morrison had anticipated this moment. He opened a channel to Admiral Hayes. Permission to pursue the fleeing vessels? Linda appeared on his screen, and for the first time since the battle began, she smiled. Permission granted, Commander. Show them what happens when you threaten Earth. The human fleet, barely damaged despite hours of intense combat, pursued the fleeing Zithron ships. Every vessel that tried to activate its slipstream drive found its engines targeted and destroyed by those precise silver beams. Ships that surrendered immediately were allowed to drift. Ships that kept fighting were eliminated without mercy. When the battle finally ended 6 hours after it began, 1,700 Zithron vessels floated dead in space or sat powerless under human guard. Fewer than 300 had managed to escape, limping away to carry news of their defeat back to the Empire. The Battle of Earth was over. The Zithron Empire's ability to wage offensive war was broken, and humanity had announced to the entire galaxy that they were not just another species to be ignored or threatened. They were a force that would reshape galactic politics forever. In the Galactic Council chamber, Councillor Thane watched recordings of the battle with something close to awe. They turned their entire planet into a weapon. Every ocean, every mountain, every moon. How long must they have been planning this? Ambassador Claire Foster, who had remained at the council as an observer during the battle, answered quietly, "Since the moment we looked at the stars and realized we were not alone. Since the moment we understood that the galaxy was dangerous, we prepared for the worst, hoping it would never come, but ready when it did." Councillor Vera's crystalline form pulsed with colors indicating deep thought. "And now what happens?" "Now we rebuild," Claire said. "We mourn those we lost, and we offer our hand to the galaxy again. Partnership, alliance, protection for those who need it." She looked around at all the assembled councillors. "The war is over. The real question is what kind of peace we will build together." On Earth, as the last Zithron ship either surrendered or fled, Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Valiant and looked down at his homeworld. Cities still glowed on the night side. Oceans still reflected sunlight. Clouds still drifted across continents. Humanity had defended its home, proven its strength, and taken its rightful place among the stars. "Sir, Admiral Hayes is recalling all ships to defensive positions," Amy reported. "We are to maintain alert status for the next 48 hours in case they try again." "They will not try again," Jake said quietly. "Not for a long time. We hurt them too badly." He turned to face his crew. "But our work is not finished. There are species out there who have been undefended while we fought this battle. Species who trusted us to protect them." He pulled up the star map showing their patrol route. "As soon as we get clearance from the Admiral, we are heading back to the Ailari homeworld. They have been alone long enough. Time to keep our promises." Pete grinned from his tactical station. "Back to being heroes instead of soldiers?" "We are whatever we need to be," Jake replied. "Soldiers when necessary, protectors always. That is what it means to be human." The Valiant prepared to depart, ready to return to its patrol duties. Around Earth, other human ships were doing the same, heading back to their assigned sectors to resume protecting those who could not protect themselves. Across the galaxy, on 19 different worlds, people looked up at their skies and saw human ships returning. Relief swept through populations that had feared abandonment. Children who had cried when the humans left now celebrated their return. Species that had faced extinction now had hope again. The Galactic Council would debate for months about what to do with humanity. Some would argue for strict regulations. Others would push for full alliance. A few would continue to see humans as threats. But none of them could deny the simple truth that had been proven in the Battle of Earth. Humanity had arrived. Not as conquerors or victims, but as defenders, and they were here to stay. In the years that followed, the story of Earth's defense would be told countless times across countless worlds. It would inspire art, music, literature, and philosophy. Young beings of dozens of species would grow up hearing about the day a single world stood against an empire and won. But for those who were there, who fought and bled and survived, the story was simpler. They had protected their home. They had kept their promises. And they had shown the galaxy that humanity, for all its youth and inexperience, had one quality that no amount of technology or numbers could defeat. They never gave up.